This vibrant city has doubled in size every 5 years since 1950 to recently become the most populous in all of Africa. It has some of the most bountiful and sought-after natural resources on the planet, many of which remain untapped by its enterprising and industrious workforce. Half its people are under 22 years old, too young to remember the long history of corruption, war, and foreign exploitation that has left their country broken and lacking basic services. Yet despite being faced with some of the most challenging conditions in the history of civilization, it remains a land of enormous potential. This is Kinshasa, capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The largest French-speaking megacity in the world is located 515 kilometers from the Atlantic coast, along a lake-like widening of the Congo, the river with the second highest flow rate on Earth. If its hydrological power were fully harnessed, it could electrify the entire continent. That's the inspiration behind the Grand Inga Dam expansion, a nearly $100 billion proposed megaproject to create the largest power station in the world, capable of generating more electricity than the two largest hydropower plants currently in operation. And the same potential exists for the solar energy that consistently bathes this equatorial country. The freshwater supply provided by the Congo also ensures that, unlike more arid regions of Africa, the DRC has millions of acres of arable farmland, although only 10% of it is under cultivation. If it was used to its potential, it could feed the entire continent. The first to exploit these natural riches was the brutal British explorer Henry Stanley, who arrived in 1881. The establishment of a navigable port, which Stanley named Leopoldville after the Belgian king who sponsored his expedition, provided a key access point into and out of the interior jungle. Under Stanley, colonialists massacred and maimed millions in a maniacal attempt to extract ivory and rubber. It was under these conditions that Leopoldville grew for 80 years until 1960, when the locals overthrew their Belgian rulers, created the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and renamed this capital city Kinshasa. But the tumultuous times have only continued, measuring over 219 meters. Through millions of years, a vast mineral wealth has accumulated in these hills and canyons, including the largest known reserves of cobalt, a rare, vital material in the lithium-ion batteries that power our mobile electronics, and increasingly our cars. This has attracted the Chinese, who have invested heavily in projects throughout Africa over the last decade. According to a New York Times investigation, Chinese-backed companies owned or had a financial stake in 15 of Congo's 19 cobalt-producing mines.
90% of the cobalt that's extracted here in the Democratic Republic of Congo is exported to China. It's either extracted by Chinese companies directly or bought in rather opaque circumstances.
Many such mines have a history of exploiting children, subjecting employees to unsafe working conditions, and engaging in corrupt business practices, with an estimated 25% of the cobalt sold on the black market.
C'est dû à les gardes présidentiels de notre Congo qui gardent les Chinois là-bas au dépôt.
Ils sont ensemble?
Oui, ils sont ensemble. C'est les Chinois qui fait la loi parce qu'il a trouvé notre pays qui est foutu.
Ubebe tena na makuta unakata porque hautasema ukiseme banakupika. Y a pas moyen à faire.
The state authorities are very weak in the face of Chinese economic and political interest. The Chinese companies have ministers and MPs in on their deals. This makes them very powerful and uncontrollable.
As a way to buy off Congolese politicians and win over the hearts and minds of the locals, Chinese developers are building many infrastructure projects. New hospitals, toll roads, apartment blocks, a Chinese-styled parliament building, and bridges are going up all over Kinshasa and the mining areas of the DRC. Investigative reporters have revealed how significant cuts of the revenue from these projects are siphoned off through off-the-book transactions that line the pockets of corrupt Congolese politicians, and that the Chinese are fully aware this is going on. At the same time, a common stipulation of these contracts is that Chinese workers, not locals, do the construction. This is why, within just the last 5 years, thousands of Chinese families have settled in Kinshasa. For China, offering these loans is a small price to pay for the right to ramp up their extraction of millions of tons of precious metals worth billions of dollars a year. Still, for the average Quinois, as the residents of Kinshasa are known, a literal roadblock to economic development remains the fundamental lack of the basic infrastructure and public services needed to support everyday life and commerce. Even in this huge metropolis, home to numerous businesses and 3 universities, many roads remain unpaved and power is notoriously unreliable, even for the 20% of residents with access to electricity. There is no functioning municipal waste collection, and indoor plumbing is still considered a luxury. Clean drinking water can be impossible to come by, and public transit, for workers to ride to and from the expansive sprawl of outlying neighborhoods, is nearly non-existent. Much of the country's financial resources are concentrated in the hands of a very small subset of millionaire entrepreneurs, financiers, celebrities, and politicians, who reside along with international residents within insular gated communities, securely walled off from the rest of the impoverished city. A densely populated area of 150 square kilometers is home to most of Kinshasa's 15.6 million residents, 70% of whom work off the books in the informal economy.
The streets are bustling with activity. Many people take on multiple jobs to get by.
Africa News, Palmares, Machetes, Lefa.
Among them are couriers, street sweepers, maggot sellers, bread sellers, and jewelers.
Kinshasa is now home to 14% of the DRC's population, yet it accounts for 85% of its GDP. More than 5 times larger than the DRC's second and third most populous cities, Quinois have an outsized influence on the future of their country. Quinois are known for their national pride, individualism, optimism, and resilience in the face of unimaginable trauma. And their distinct sense of cultural identity has inspired a range of creative movements that influence all of Africa. If the youthful energy of the DRC can be focused on effectively harnessing its bountiful resources, the country could become an economic powerhouse. Make sure to subscribe for next week's video, a look at Jakarta, Indonesia. Last week we told the story of Los Angeles, California's megacity.